So we've started our service, and let's quickly go and check. Uh, we'll remove hello here and we'll call orders. We'll quickly call this to see what happens. Oops, so it's giving some sort of an error. Let's go and look at the logs that were generated. So it says invalid definition, no serializer found for the class order, and no properties discovered, which is true. We never had any properties, right? Because of which Spring Boot is not able to serialize this particular object, right? So this is something for us to understand that Spring Boot, when it is receiving a request or when it is sending out a response, right? It is receiving a JSON object and it is going to uh, sort of serialize it or deserialize it into a Java object, and we'll see the how we do that. But currently, what we are trying to do is basically we have an order class, basically an order object, right? And we are trying to send that in the response, which means Spring Boot will try to serialize this order object into an order JSON, right? Or basically a list of order JSONs, right? So it's not able to do right now because the order does not have any attribute at all, right? So what we will do is we will quickly go and add a attribute. Let's call it order ID, right? For simplicity, we will just have this one attribute. And since we are not going to create getter setters explicitly, we will use the @data annotation here, right? And which means that Lombok will create the getter and setters for us. And we will quickly go here and um, in fact, let's also add the all arguments constructor here, right? Which means now this will start failing and I'll have to actually pass an order ID, and I'll just call it order one for simplicity. And in fact, since this is a list, right, let's add one more order to this, right? And I'll call it order two, right? So we've created a list of two orders now, and we expect this to be sent as part of the response. Let's see if this works. I'm just going to restart this once again. Okay, the service is restarted pretty fast, and we will go and hit this endpoint once again. And there you go. So you see that the response is a JSON object and it has two objects in it basically. This is a list. This signifies that it is a list, and these are individual objects, right? There are two objects and each of them have the order ID that it has to that we were passing in the response, right? So this is what we were expecting. So we have our first endpoint, which returns all the hard-coded orders. As of now, we just have it here. We've not created something to store or persist orders. We're going to see that next. But given we have a list of orders with us, this particular endpoint can be used to fetch all these orders and send it back to, let's say, the client or the consuming application. It could be a UI application, it could be another microservice, right? But we will be able to send this response uh, without any problems, right? So in the next videos, we will look at how we can use other HTTP methods like post or put as well, or probably just look at get as well. A version where we are looking for a specific order and not all the orders. So we can look at that next and then go towards creating new orders or updating existing order.